First of all, it's very humbling to be here. And sir, thank you for letting me be a part of this. It's fitting and proper what we're doing today. We stand today with, as was said, Special Forces soldiers all around the world. And every one of those Special Forces soldiers that today is helping defend the country owes a debt of gratitude to this great American that we're honoring today. We stand on the shoulders of giants. And Hermann Adler did not set out in 1956, the year I was born, by the way, feeling decidedly young. Didn't set out to be an icon in the business, but that's in fact what he is. In his way, understated, humble, he changed the whole complexion of the way we view Special Forces. And his bravery, his gallantry tested on the battlefields of Vietnam, and his ingenuity and his intellect tested in the Cold War, at the height of the Cold War, both in Special Forces and in the military intelligence career. Another thing we share, by the way, which, as we said, he actually approached it the opposite that I did. He ended as an intelligence officer. I started my first 9 years in the Army as an intelligence officer. We also share the fact that, as I've come to realize in chatting back there, that he was at Fort Bragg in charge of selection, assessment, and the training when I went through the training course back in 1979. So, like I said, there are a lot of folks out there that will say, hey, okay, so I'm going to say it's his fault. We, as we go through life, though, we weave a tapestry, in my view. It's every person we meet, every experience that we have, the challenges that we encounter, the accomplishments that we make, and it causes those threads to become more vibrant. Every person that we touch is a different thread. And if you look at the tapestry that is, his life, it's brilliant. Brilliant from start to end. My grandfather, who was Russian, he came over in World War II. He was a displaced person. They put him into impressed labor, and he wound up at the end of the war fighting fires in Leipzig. And my mom and my dad, and her dad, were separated. My granddad were separated during the war in the displaced persons camps in World War II. My dad made it, or my granddad made it into West Germany by the good graces of a great American NCO whose name is lost in time. But as my granddad went up to the checkpoint, as the Russians in fact were closing off the east from the west, he made a very human appeal that said, hey, my daughter is in Augsburg. And so my Langemarkstrasse in Augsburg. Yes. And so my granddad, the great American young NCO out there, let my granddad through. So my granddad was a survivor, and when I met my granddad later, the Army had sent me to learn ein bisschen Deutsch. So prior to that, I couldn't speak to my granddad because he spoke German and Russian. And he spoke German with a very heavy Russian accent, so I'm not sure how much. But a man that we both know by the name of Dobromir Nikov. I don't know if you remember Dobromir. He was in the unit OMS there also at the very early days. He and I went to see my granddad. Dobromir spoke Russian. I spoke a little passable German at that point. And I got to know my granddad. When my granddad said that somebody was a good man, he meant that inside that man, the thing that makes that person tick is inherently good. And there are a lot of good men out there, but they wouldn't, half of them, qualify to be a good man in the way my granddad sees him. Hermann Adler is a good man. The thing that makes him tick is inherently good. He's humble, he's expert, he's a patriot. And sir, I'm deeply honored to be here today.
Thank you.
To recognize you appropriately for your contributions to special operations, to Special Forces more importantly. And I learned a lesson in the room in there. This is one where you, the commandant, have got to take this back. You know, we're in this era right now where kumbaya, you know, or getting along is very important. And there's a lot of talk about we've got to become very close to our conventional force brothers and very close to our interagency folks. But we can never lose sight of what makes us different. And Hermann pointed out something in here that I think was stunning in its simplicity, but just profound in its wisdom. You know, when a ranger is a ranger, he has a ranger buddy. And inherently those organizations are built to fight their kind of fight with the ferocity and the gallantry that's based on a team effort. In Special Forces, though, and as Hermann talks about one young ranger that decided to leave the Q course, and as he identified the fact that this young ranger, this particular young ranger, did not want to be out in the forest alone at night. Inherently in our business, though, this is a single, solitary role that we play for our country. That makes us different. It means that we either operate individually or perhaps in 12-man teams. But we don't scale very well. It's actually the strength of the individual that is in the business that makes us who we are. The second difference is, as we pointed out, we're the only branch in the Army that raises their hand to work with indigenous forces. Nobody else does it. And you know, it doesn't matter if you like your Afghans or not. We raised our hand to work with those forces out there on behalf of the United States. So I appreciate in every single way you embody the epitome of a Special Forces quiet professional.
Thank you.
And so you didn't set out to be an icon, you know, but you are one. And Westmoreland was right. You won't be forgotten. And what we do today is your name and your photo will go up in the halls of SWCC, and those young folks that walk through there will be inspired by your career and what you've done to help protect this great nation. And so with that, Herman, please join me up here and let's recognize you. I'm going to publish the order.
The certificate reads, in recognition for outstanding contributions to the regimental community, tradition, and esprit de corps, by the order of the Secretary of the Army, Major Hermann Adler, United States Army retired, is granted and assigned the distinction of Distinguished Member of the Special Forces Regiment. Signed, Eric P. Wendt, Major General, U.S. Army Commanding.
Secretary of the Army.
Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in an applause for our newest distinguished member of the Special Forces Regiment.
You want to get a picture? You know, I think we were talking about there, the names that he was... Yes, ma'am. This is in no small way yours as well.
Yes.
Because we realize what a career in this business is about.
You stole my thunder.
Oh. Excuse me.
Because she deserves everything. She was behind me. She was the best team sergeant I ever had. The second best.
I'll hold this. You can give your team sergeant a kiss then. But in your second best
Okay. Okay.
And sir,
Can I put it down?
I'll take it for you, and the floor is yours.
The floor is mine.
Yes.
Okay. From the very beginning, Special Forces was something that kind of pulled me in. I mean, it was okay when I first came to the Army, and I thought this was the greatest thing I ever did. Came to the States, joined the Army, and I figured this is the life that I want to live. I didn't know about Special Forces then. So I took the next best thing, which was to use the honor guard. And we had dress blues, and we had rifles, and we marched in step, and it was just great. But after a while, it got old. I wasn't really a soldier. I was just like a puppet. So I came back to the States and joined everything. I mean, you know, started Ranger School and Special Forces training. And I knew that this was the life I wanted to live. And my glory days were when I went to Camp McCall with Charlie Beckwith. Colonel Beckwith, he was my leader, my commander, and I have to give him credit for everything that I learned. And he had certain ways of doing it. He would send me to the farm in Williamsburg, and he didn't tell me what it was. He said, I am going to get you educated. Go to the farm. So I went to the farm. And it was interesting. And then I came back, covered with all kinds of honors from the school. And it just kept on going. I don't want to talk about Vietnam now. That was off to the side. But again, I was in Delta, and glory. But when I came back to the U.S., and Charlie Beckwith put me in charge of training Special Forces. My sidekick, a young West Point captain, he and I went out there to Camp McCall and revamped it all, because I didn't like what was going on. And that was the reason why Beckwith sent me out. And those were really my best times that I had with Special Forces. And I had people like this man there, the best team sergeant I ever had in Berlin, not in Camp McCall, but Berlin. And we had a good time together.
We did. We did. We worked real hard.
Yeah.
You're my favorite commander also.
Well, I don't want to drag it out. because Colonel Cleveland said basically everything that needed to be said. Sir, I thank you and salute you.